Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, mutants and freaks, chimps and apes, Bigfoots and skunk apes. It's Jeff Dye and Tony Reavis coming at you with a new episode of Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast. Today, the guest that we have is a hilarious man that you're probably familiar with. He is feared by celebrities everywhere because he might impersonate him and make him look like a buffoon. Or he could if he wanted, but he chooses to use his powers for good, unlike Thanos and other bad guys that he admires. Our guest in the Fortress of Solid Dudes this week is a very cool guy, and a guy I'm pretty proud to say I'm friends with. I hung out with him when I was in Arizona a few weeks ago, and I asked him when he's going to be in LA, and he agreed to do my podcast. If you want to listen to that, go over to his podcast. It's Frank Caliendo. He has a podcast with Al Jackson, and he also has a sports podcast, and I did both of them. Frank Caliendo. Very, very funny guy from Fox Sports and from Comedy Central. And he is a really, really cool guy and a very successful man. We were very honored to have him here. He kept us laughing the entire time. My face hurt. If you guys want to watch this episode, go to patreon.com/Jeff Dye. It's the only commercial that's on this podcast because we don't have sponsors. We rely on people like you to help us with all this stuff, and it's expensive and takes time. So for a small fee, $10 a month, you get to listen to every episode and watch every episode. You also get all 75 episodes before this and future episodes. You get free comedy club tickets to my shows live, where you get a meet and greet. You'll get to with me, and you'll obviously not pay for the show. And you'll also be able to listen to some members-only vlogs that I'm going to start doing and live stream when we get enough followers. And we would love that. If you would subscribe, it helps a lot. So go to patreon.com/Jeff Dye and subscribe. If you just want to listen, that's okay. That's free. But go to iTunes and hit subscribe. That helps us a lot. Enjoy my friend, very funny, hilarious guy, Frank Caliendo. Nailed it with a pause. Wait, do you like Texas?
I love visiting other countries. Here's the thing.
They would love that you said
Are we
that.
going? Is this going? Okay,
Yeah.
because if you say that in Florida, they get offended.
Yeah.
You say that in Texas, like, you bet.
He recognized our fact.
He knows where we're at.
Yeah, they wish they
do
would.
Jerry Jones. Do some Jerry Jones. I believe it. That's it. You got it. Come on, Frank. You nailed it. So I believe it. I do. You do anybody else? Yeah, a few. I'll do them later. You do Ed. Ed lives down the street from me. Is he the one who rakes all the time? How come you're doing me to me? That was incredible what you just did. Calamari. Frank Calamari. I've never seen anything like that. And now I'm Cajun. Ed just came in from a couple down. I'm going, Ed. I almost went Edwards around there.
Just moved right around into it.
It happens.
It's like a really funny possession.
Yeah, it's I guess. Is that what it is?
Have you? Wait, so do you know Jerry Jones? I'm sure.
I don't know Jerry Jones.
You've never met him or
You
anything?
know Jerry Jones?
No.
Everybody. I
just assume
you have the
anybody
life
in
I want.
sports,
Do you
you know.
live that way? Are you? You're on camera because you have a. I don't know. And by the way, you are like, I just feel like you should be in a cabin somewhere taking care of it. I don't know what it is, but you have very pretty eyes. I'm a straight man. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's fine.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Sure, yeah.
But there's just something about you that's very welcoming and.
He's got a sweetness to him.
Yeah, kind of like this might sound negative, like a butler type of deal, but at the same time, a friend who's a butler, like Uncle Jesse from Full House.
Yeah. Definitely not running the show, but like
Yeah.
You know.
Pull out the guitar
Happy to be
and,
here.
and
Happy
any
to be here.
leftovers
Count
Jeff
on 'em.
might have
You can count on him.
come your way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the
Means a lot.
question?
Jerry Jones. I assumed you knew him.
I've never met him. I was in the at the Super Bowl years ago. It was in Dallas. It was the Packers playing against the
Steelers.
Thank you, Uncle Jesse. Packers,
why I'm
Steelers. George W. Bush were there. John Madden was there.
Nice.
I was past Secret Service. They'd allowed me in.
Perfect.
And it was going to be this thing where I was going to sit in between them. And then I was going to do some of this and some of this and do just talk back and forth. But they were talking to Jerry. So nobody wanted to interrupt Jerry Jones talking to them. And Fox had the cameras ready and everything to go. And I was on the NFL on Fox at the time. And it just it never materialized. But that would have been the time to probably meet Jerry.
Been it.
There was another time.
I feel like I'd get along with Jerry Jones. Like, I feel like we would have like drinks together. I feel like we'd be pals. You ever see someone on TV go, I bet me and that guy would get along.
All right. So there was another time I did a stand-up bit, a segment, a skit for the NFL owners. Now, one of the things about exactly, because trying to have anything in common with a billionaire is it's impossible because you're like, you ever been to Walmart? I own the competitor. Don't talk about it. You're like, what do you? How do we relate to each other then? So Jerry Jones, I actually did the impression, not really impression. I was doing John Gruden and the owner of the Raiders. What's his name? Mark Davis. He was out there, and I went to apologize for him because I was going back and forth with him. I'll tell you what, man, $10 million a year, it's a good deal, man. It's like 50% off right there. I should have been 20 million, man. See me win the other night? That's a big deal right there. Derek Carr? No, Derek SUV, man. So
It's great.
I'm messing around with that. But then I go to see Jerry Jones and I want to talk to Jerry Jones. And every time he did the sitcom turn, I was like, Mr. Jones, I believe I'm talking to somebody over here.
Oh,
I don't even know if he knew that it was me or whatever.
That's actually what I was going to ask you next is like, sometimes people go, oh, you're the comedian, don't pick on me, or oh, is this going to be in your act and all that stuff? And I'm like, it's never going to be in the act. You can just treat me like a regular person. Don't worry, this isn't going to become a bit. But with an impressionist, do people sometimes go, oh, he's going to do an impression of me, especially famous people?
Yeah, and I put them in the in the act.
Yeah, which is great.
Because it's more. What I used to go out and do was just. Is my chair too squeaky?
No.
I want it to be.
For people just listening, Frank keeps doing an impression of his chair.
Yeah.
That's not the chair. Yeah.
Which was very similar to probably your room last night.
Right.
I'm so amazed by your life.
They know I have sex. The viewers
What?
know.
That's not what I was referring to.
Yeah, it was.
I thought you were in Oz helping a man made of tin.
Walking around as someone from Fraggle Rock.
Down at Fraggle Rock. All I can do is John Gruden. Down at Fraggle Rock. So where were we going with this? That's going to be a problem with me a lot of the time. Bear?
You put them in the bit.
Oh yeah.
Or like if celebrities are afraid
because
of you.
it used to be that I would just do presentational type of impression because it was just watching and making observations. Now that I can talk about doing things with people or meeting people, those become bits.
Oh yeah.
And people like to hear that type of stuff, and it brings them into my world a little bit, like meeting John Gruden. And for just 2 minutes, just staring back and forth, man. No words whatsoever. This is going through our heads, but we're not saying anything, man. We're just in psychotic agreement. So that type of thing, people like to hear those stories.
Sure.
And the way legend has it, he was holding a coffee. He's looking at me, so you're the guy who does me, huh? I'm like, yeah. He's like, where are you from? I looked up where he was from, so I said that. I was like, Sandusky, Ohio. He's like, really? I'm like, no. It's like, good, because you were blowing my mind, man. Blew my mind out of existence, man. That's like Wile E. Coyote messing with the dynamite, man.
Well, he like wants to be your friend, and you guys are like friends now because of the impression, right? I mean,
I think so. I think part of it with some people is keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I think that's a good way to do it with people. Like people in the last week have asked me to come out, and in the last couple of days, well, in the last week, have asked me to go. There was that revelation that
Gruden had agreed to the Antonio Brown video that came out. So for everybody who's not a sports fan and follow or listening, Antonio Brown
He's a crazy person.
Yeah, literally, I believe to be truly insane.
Yes.
But was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, was traded over to the Raiders, and then froze his feet off almost. Then didn't like his helmet till he got a Power Ranger helmet.
Yeah.
Thought he was forming Voltron. I know I'm crossing the line here, but there were still a couple of robotic type
Yeah.
group creatures.
Yeah. Some racial slurs.
No.
There was some racial slurs.
Were
He
there?
called Mike Mayock a cracker.
Whoa,
Apparently.
they don't say the
I
racial
thought you were
slurs, Tony.
I'm white. I can say
No,
it.
you can't. You went hard
that's,
R.
That's our word.
I thought you
that
almost
is
went
right.
Norm Macdonald.
Wait a minute
Tony,
over there.
I just remembered
You
your
don't
name
say
because he said it
crackers.
there, you know?
We don't say crackers.
Yeah, we only talk
And we
about...
don't say, and just name all the slurs. No, but there was
We
that.
call them Ritz bits. You ever had a Ritz bit? That's what this whole chunk of comedy is going to be here, you know? A Ritz bit. Hey, it's almost as good as my Reese's Pieces.
Do my old corny Ritz Bits bit.
I'm going off on tangents. I'm sorry. Where were we?
Antonio Brown, you're telling
His
the
video.
audience about the
So-
psychopath
yeah.
that is Antonio
So
Brown.
then he came out with a video, and they said he sent the video. By the time this comes out, I don't know where it'll be, but they said he sent the video, or they sent the videographer sent the video to John Gruden, and he texted back like, "I love it, man. That's good stuff, man." But how many times do you get a video from somebody? You don't really watch it. You just go, "Good stuff."
yeah, love it.
It was great.
Great.
Yeah.
That's or you don't watch it with the
Great
sound
set.
on. Yeah, unbelievable. And then they ask you details about it later, and you're like,
yeah.
It's been a while. It was earlier today. I know, but you know how many videos I get from Texans from earlier in the podcast. So they were going to saying that because it was in California, you need two-party consent on phone. It was on a phone call. That was the voiceover that was used. And they said that this was considered consent. And I'm going, well, wait a second. Him saying, "I love it, man, good stuff," that's consent?
Yeah, it's strange.
That makes no sense. Try to use that in any other real life situation. Try to use that if you're getting #MeToo'd.
Right.
Think about that.
I love it.
I love it. Oh, that's no, it's not.
Really not.
So then they just went with it. And they were going with, like, the whole media's on board. I'm going, come on, nobody's breaking this down a little bit more and asking some questions. They're going, well, that's consent. 100%. How dumb is Gruden? And so people wanted me to come on quite a few different shows and just be Gruden giving consent to different things. I'm like, you know what? At this point, he's a friend of mine. He's done a lot for me in the last year or two. That's one thing.
He sent you visors.
Oh, he said, I just got the other game ball.
Gave
He
you the
sent me
game,
other
ball. Yeah, I mean, that alone. How many gifts you got from Gruden, Tony?
None.
Zippo.
They even brought you up yesterday on Monday Night Football
Yeah.
because Brian Greasy tried to do an impression, and then they're like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
Frank
Leave it to
Caliendo,
Frank.
your job is safe." Yeah, they're
Steve
like,
Levy
"Your
brought me
job
up and
is
they
safe."
talked to it a
Yeah.
couple times. And then, funny because I texted Levy, and I haven't talked to that guy in years, but at ESPN, he's a great guy, very funny, very interesting. But I texted him, and it came up green, so I don't know, instead of blue with the iPhone.
Either
right.
they're dead or poor.
Right. Yeah, or just flip phone. Yeah, I guess it is poor. You went one further. I should have just left it where you were at because you're better at this than me. You should host stuff. So then I go, thanks for the shout out last night.
Yeah.
And he texts me back, "Who is this?"
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, "Is this Steve?" He doesn't answer that. He's like, "Who's this?" I'm like, I'm not going to get into a battle of the Masked Singer with him.
Right. Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
Guess.
I'm not gonna text Ken Jeong and see if he's got a comment and if he can be just blown away that it's Terry Bradshaw. No, I tell you what.
I like that anyone had trouble identifying Terry Bradshaw on The Masked Singer. He was walking like Terry Bradshaw. He had the same stiffness of a 70-year-old man who's in a costume. He's sweating out, which very Terry Bradshaw trait, and he also is singing and sounding exactly like Terry Bradshaw.
I'm telling you
It's
about my
so easy easy.
My people.
It's so easy.
What if Stephen Hawking were still alive?
Oh my God.
And he were in the mask?
That would be great.
You're like, I cannot figure out who it is.
They just make a
Back to
big
me.
head, and then the wheels on his wheelchair are earrings for like the big head. That'd be amazing.
Are you Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah.
It's 100% Mark Wahlberg. I know it's him.
It's Antonio Brown with frozen off feet. He's like in a wheelchair. He was on that show, which is so
That's right.
crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Is it really that crazy to you?
Well, just that they would think anyone that Nicole Scherzinger or Ken Jeong would have guessed Antonio Brown. Like,
Well, Ken Jeong's a big sports guy.
yeah, but would you be able to identify any of the voices of like any of the players? Like if someone's like, "Hey, do an impression of do an impression of Tyler Lockett from the Seahawks," you'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm trying to come back at you with something witty, and there's nothing because you're 100% right.
I think like
Sometimes
you
you
just
give
go,
up and go, truth wins.
Yeah.
I could recognize Antonio Brown's head. Like if you showed a picture of him, oh, that's Antonio
Stupid
Brown.
mustache
His
face.
singing
His
voice.
head, it would have to be going the other way, leaving your team.
Exactly. Oh, the guy with the blonde mustache. That's definitely Antonio Brown.
And it looks like something's wrong with his feet.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so is there? So do you ever know the guy that did impressions? Steve Bridges.
Yes.
Great guy. I used to be pals with him just because we both play Comedy Magic Club. Really great guy.
Okay.
So he told me because he used to do the best, like he would dress as George W.
Right.
Bush because he would do the whole thing, dress like him, come out there and pretend to be him. He had the
He did
podium.
it for the Tonight Show.
Yep, and he also his Robert Feldman, I think that's his name. Robert Feldman is a brilliant writer. I hope that I'm getting the name right. Sometimes I botch the name.
Right. Writers don't care if you get their names right.
Yeah, like what's like to say his genius and then be like, I think I know his name. I don't know. But
how
he
we talk
works
about
for like
Tony.
Robert Smigel and all these different things. He would write jokes for Steve Bridges to be George W. Bush. And then George W. Bush had him for the presidential, and they did this really funny side-by-side thing. You
Right.
have to look up. It's fantastic.
I was at the dinner before that.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was with Dick Cheney, and Bush was supposed to be there.
Oh,
So he stole my thunder.
yeah, that's
Thanks
not
for
good.
no, really. I was at the dinner, the Congressional Correspondents' dinner before that, and they were fighting over me supposedly for that or the presidential dinner.
Okay.
So then because that was the one with Steve Carell. Remember, Steve Carell roasted George W. Bush.
I don't remember that.
But what happened? Steve Bridges and George W. Bush were so good together.
Yeah.
So I was at the one that was right before that, maybe 4 months or whatever it is, with Dick Cheney sitting there, and Bush was supposed to be there, but Cheney had shot the guy in the woods.
face. Yeah.
So the deal was I was told this later by the press corps or whomever, that Cheney, they made up some reason for Bush not to be there, and they just wanted Cheney to be seen laughing by himself. Because if Bush was there, then it would have been a situation where the focus is always on the president.
Right.
But the vice president being there by himself, and he was just sitting there enjoying the
Doesn't
comedy.
seem like he likes comedy.
I don't know. He was very I mean, honestly, just one of those. I walked up. I met him before. You go through all the metal detectors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I do this impression of George Bush. He's like, sounds interesting. And I was like, are you going to have me killed? No.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was that type of thing, and he did it. And the joke was, that I look over, and in the tux, he looked like the Penguin from Batman.
Absolutely.
It's like, did your heart just go, man?
Well, the thing is that Steve Bridges told me is like he did George W. Bush for so long that when Obama got in office, Steve Bridges would go full Obama. He would put on the white guy doing Obama, like right at the Comedy Magic Club, but you could hear Bush in Obama.
Yeah, the Bush impression was incredible.
Right.
And you could hear, that's one of the things that anybody who does impressions for the most part, you're getting a piece of that person's voice. I don't care how good they are.
Okay.
And some people are more believable. Phil Hartman. Let's go to a guy that was at Saturday Night Live.
I didn't know he did impressions.
That's all. He was Clinton. He did a lot. He was hi, I'm Troy McClure.
Yeah,
it was
love Troy McClure.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But he did impressions. But because you would probably look back. What are you, 18, 19 now?
Yeah, I just turned 21.
You look back and you go, I didn't even really know he was doing it. Kind of like Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell didn't do great impressions, but Will Ferrell made you believe he was everybody. They were decent.
Yeah.
He's just funnier than
There were more
everybody else.
jokes. Yeah, there was, yeah.
But that's Phil Hartman would do that. He'd do Sinatra and all these, but he still really sounded like Phil Hartman, where Carvey was more the impressionist.
Right.
In that crew. But they all, everybody when you're on a sketch show, everybody
Like
does.
Norm Macdonald's Burt Reynolds is Norm Macdonald. It's just, it's not even close.
He's actually doing Phil
That's a
Hartman.
big hat. You're like, that's definitely.
Watch Phil Hartman do it though. It's
Oh, is
very
it?
similar.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny how it's just
Yeah.
chewing to go there. Hey.
Because I always
Let's go
think
again.
that's like, it's no disrespect to Norm or these guys, and they're so funny. But when I listen to you do an impression, it's funny, and you actually sound like the guy.
Right, but
like,
I think
there's that
Norm would
double
tell
whammy.
you, and I think Norm has said stuff like this, like, I don't do voices,
Right. Why am I on
go,
SNL?
I go out there and do, the bits, and I kind of do a little bit of the essence of the person, but I don't, I'm not like Hammond over
I do,
there.
jokes.
I don't know how he does it, but yeah. Just that affirmation killed, man. So you hear parts of people's voices in there. So
Yeah.
you probably heard some of his own voice
Right.
that blended from Obama and Bush. And I'll get that from, let's go a couple that are very similar that aren't even that far apart. George W. Bush to Terry Bradshaw
Oh,
is
yeah.
not very far. And then you tighten everything up and it becomes Chris Rock. And I don't know why.
And those couldn't be three more different
Yeah.
people, yeah.
But they're not that far apart when you look at them.
Right.
And when you listen to them and break them down. That's why it's difficult at times to stay in that. When I do a voice, for me, it's almost like training a muscle.
Mhm.
So you get that muscle. If you train something in a sport, you're training the physical activity over and over and over. Let's say it's golf, that golf swing. It's go through this and just do the same robotic motion every time.
Right.
Well, that's what you do with a voice. You just train it to just so it doesn't go off and wobble and go to different voices. But sometimes if you're not there yet, it will, and it'll
Right.
blend into other things. And cadence is so important.
It's so fascinating to me. Do you you have to study dialects or anything like that, or just
I
not really?
probably would be better if I did.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those kind of things. For
Yeah.
me, it's all cadence. George W. Bush would just try to, get to the next word, right? Donald Trump has the words. They're all ready. They're
Best words.
incredible. The best words. That doesn't get number one. Everything's incredible, and you just add on to what you were just saying. You don't even have to know what you just said. You just add on to it. And then Obama would talk slow at the beginning and speed up at the end, right? So it's that 1, 2, 3.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Yeah. But you find those cadences. How many Christopher Walkens have you heard? High, low,
All of them.
in
Yeah.
the middle. But
I have
it's the
100
cadence.
friends, 2 do impressions, and all 100 do Christopher Walken.
Yeah. It's the new Jack Nicholson, right?
Yeah, well, I heard, and this might be a myth, but I heard 20 years ago, Lorne Michaels used to say, "Listen, I'm excited for you to audition for SNL. No, gosh, I forgot his name.
Christopher
already.
Walken?
No, Chris. Don't do Christopher Walken. That's how."
And it was actually
often
Christopher
he
Walken
heard
in there.
it.
Wow. What do I do?
Yeah, he's like, "That's my whole."
that's my whole career.
It's my whole submission tape. But that's is there any voices that somebody, I don't know, I imagine that do people just ask you to do voices?
They tell me now.
Oh, they say
I think
we
it's because
listen
of
to what we
social
like.
media. People are like, just do this.
Really?
I'm more of a magician than a sorcerer. That's the reality of it.
Is there a voice you had a lot of trouble learning?
Lots of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Like-
I can't do most. That's the thing is you just show people the ones you can do.
Yeah.
And then people think I do a lot of corporate events and stuff like that. And they'll be like, hey, do Mark Schlesing, our boss. I'm like, I don't, and then the guy he talks just like this basically and says, hello, and how are you? Very nice to meet you. It's all normal. I'm like, yeah. And then this is what I normally do is on at a conference call for something like that, where they're giving me information. They will
To
say,
our boss. I can't get over that.
but that's a great thing. I go, does
No.
the boss know? Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor. That's not what I asked. Does the boss know that you're asking me to make fun of him? Well, we'll check. And you never hear from him again because they think it's going to be funny. And I'm like, this is your job.
Could be a nightmare.
He loves it when people make fun of him. Who does he love it? Well, his brother makes fun of him. His dad.
His wife ribs him sometimes.
Yeah. Anybody from the company? Oh, no.
No, we would never.
Somebody tried that. I mean, Can you pay me ahead of time?
Exactly. Or like, let me get your first and last name, and then be like, Christine Smith says I should make fun of the boss.
Well, they'll do this too. They'll be like, we just got a new CEO. Could you learn to do that person?
Ugh.
Like, has anybody seen the CEO? No, it's being announced today. Like, so you want me to do an impression of somebody nobody knows or has seen? Sure.
Yeah, that'll be
Hey, I'm Marshall Lessing.
that could be the joke too. That you're like, oh, I've never seen him or heard him, so I assume that's what he talks
And I
like.
believe he sounds like Morgan Freeman. And I believe it would go something like this.
Does your wife like it when you do impressions or hate it?
How much does the gig pay? That's probably what she cares about.
Really? But I mean, when you do one in conversation or like
I
around,
don't do that at home.
You don't?
No,
you never like screw around and
no. There's no. She wouldn't put up with that. First of all,
she wouldn't put up with it.
No, there are rules.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I have no. It's like when I was younger. I used to play traveling baseball teams and stuff like that, and I would be the guy at the hotel that would hold court, and everybody. I would do some impressions, I guess, maybe as a kid, but they weren't really that. It was just me being an idiot, and everybody like, "You're funny, man. You should do stand up," which is nothing like what stand up is,
Right.
as you know,
Right.
just standing in a hotel being an idiot for your friends. But where was I going with that?
I was saying that like impressions, like in everyday life or like around the house.
that was when I needed attention back then.
Yeah.
And then when I started getting on stage, I didn't need that anymore.
Right.
So I kind of. And they weren't paying. No. But it was. But I used to work at indoor baseball, softball place. And when I was in high school, I would walk around as Robin Williams for the day. Oh my God, token time. Here we go. And we're dancing. And we're fussy. And Madonna Conbra. And we're swinging. So I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
And I mean, a guy who won a couple of World Series rings. My brother used to throw batting practice to him. Craig Counsell. He's the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers
Greg,
now.
don't call me Greg Counsell.
Yeah, and he'd just sit there going, he'd just stare at me blankly, and I'd be like, "I'm trying to make you laugh." He goes, "Are you trying to be funny now, or is this just regular you?" He couldn't tell when I was on and when I was off.
Sure.
And that should have given me some insight into myself at that point.
Famously, athletes have such a horrible sense of humor because they're like the cool guys, you know? So like they're like, don't be vulnerable, don't be silly, don't be whatever. And then like the one guy who's even like remotely silly is like the funniest guy in the clubhouse. Oh, you got to go see him. He's a crack up. He does a bad impression of Will Ferrell's impression of Harry Carey.
Yeah.
And now he's the funniest guy. Oh, you got to get him on the headphones at the seventh inning because he's going to do this Harry Carey that's going to blow your mind. But he's just ripping off a thing.
Everyone's like, this guy's hilarious. What? He puts his shoes on the wrong feet. Watch this.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, you know our reliever? Hilarious guy. Huge beard. Oh, he's so funny. He's got a huge beard. And so, like...
Why do people do that? When they tell you somebody's super funny, like incredibly entertaining, and then they give you a body part of theirs.
Yeah. Oh, he's wild. You know, he chews a ton of gum and he wears those weird Oakley goggles. Like that's how bad sports are with humor. But you've got to be able to infiltrate sports and be funny in it is like that's like the dream position.
It's a weird thing. But somebody will wear a shirt that doesn't match their shorts.
Right.
And people will go crazy on that stuff.
Even the fans are a bunch of mutants about it. Like, oh, what a nut. He's wearing a pink backpack in the bullpen. What a crack up. Yeah. Oh, we got a clown here.
I really don't think anything to top your beard line, though. The beard, like just because a guy has a beard, now he's considered funny in the major leagues. He's not considered lumberjackian.
Right. Or just like, like that's what people do. They have beards sometimes. Like sports are the worst about that. And the people who are actually hilarious are the ones who get like sanctioned. You know, like an Antonio Brown's probably around our test wildly funny to me.
I don't know if that's.
We could do like post-game interviews. Our test would like just when he was Meta World Peace. They'd be like, dude, you had a great game, 27 points. And like, you really broke it out in the fourth quarter. You're the reason they won the game. You know, how are you feeling out there? He's like, it was awesome. Hey, I got to go record some raps. They're like, what? He's like, I got to go. Like, I'm in the studio. I got to record some raps. And they're like, okay.
Do you think that's
hilarious to me.
That's not funny on purpose,
not
though.
On
I think
purpose.
he really
Those are
had
the funny
to.
Guys, though.
Yeah. They're characters.
Right.
Like, they're unbelievable. They're in a world, but I think some of that's getting broken down now too, though, where we're seeing other parts of the athletes. There are some people that are really. There are some athletes that are funny, I think, but I think you're 100% right. I shouldn't say 100, but hugely right on that whole.
Yeah.
That the things they find funny, we're going, that's just kind of normal everyday person stuff.
Corny. And
yeah.
I think what's funny, and I'm agreeing with you, is that they're not trying to be funny as the ones I like.
Yeah,
like
right.
Albert Bell gets plunked by a pitch. And he just refuses to go to first base.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's how this works.
That's the law.
And he's like, didn't hit me. Pitch. And they're like, we all saw it hit you. Like, we have cameras. And he's just like, he goes, I ain't going to first base, motherfucker. Like, and he was like yelling at the umpire and the catchers, like about to like fight them. Like, I'm
going to change my identity.
Oh, it was so funny. Those kind of little things are the only times you get to see humor in sports, unless it's you or like maybe 3 other people have ever gotten to try to be funny on sports.
You know what I think? It's just there are not a lot of open spots for that. It's also one of the toughest things in the world because usually in sports it's a terrible setup,
right?
Because it's your segment is time to be funny now. The NFL on Fox, Bradshaw and the guys,
yes,
when they're on. The funny things usually happen because something went wrong.
Terry mispronounced a name.
His
or
own.
one guy got like a stat that was completely right.
And Tura Bradshaw.
That's why he says TB here, because he doesn't want to say Terry.
How he looks over at him. I have no idea
Yeah.
how you're still alive.
He's always
Michael
worried about
Strahan. What's happening here? Everybody's trying to figure out who Kurt Menefee is. No, that's still
I
the same
love
jokes. He's been there longer. I got kicked out of there before he did. So, but it's one of those kinds of things where, yeah, I mean, you watch Terry and those guys, the organicness.
That's what's fun.
But
yeah.
when things go, but yeah, Riggle, me, anybody who's ever been in those worlds, you're on tape. Something goes wrong, or it's not hitting, or doesn't hit the energy of the show. It just keeps going the same way.
Yeah.
When they're doing something and something goes wrong, they go with it. They're truthful to the moment.
Sure.
And that's when people find that's why that show. Nobody's ever been able to harness that other than the NBA on TNT.
Right.
Right.
And they're just mimicking what
they're the NFL on Fox.
Exactly.
I believe a producer came over there from Fox, went to the NBA and TNT.
and they're friends. You can tell they get along. Even when they're being mean to each other or disagreeing, they're like ribbing each other and they do all these like fun things. You feel like you're getting a peek into their hangout.
Ernie's in the Menefee old school James Brown chair.
Sure.
Charles Barkley is in the Terry Bradshaw chair.
Absolutely.
Ernie I'm not Ernie. What's his name?
Kenny the Jet Smith.
Kenny.
Yeah, is
Kenny
like
is Howie. No, he's Howie.
Oh yeah,
he's Howie. Because he's the intelligent guy where the camera zooms in on slowly.
Oh yeah.
And Strahan, they added other things to the shows at that point.
Shaq's kind of like a Strahan or something.
Yeah.
But that
Put through my teeth. That's exactly what's going
I
on.
can't wait to hear. So I want to ask about Charles Barkley, but I do think that that's the worst feeling ever is like morning television, where it's kind of like it's got this whole different tone than stand-up comedy. And then they just go, oh, and so they just talked about like an opioid crisis or like some sort of really serious thing that happened like on the whatever. And they go, and also playing at Stand Up Live all weekend, funny man Jeff Dye. Hey, Jeff. And like, so now I've got to like turn it on.
I got the way. If you go from
they
something,
do that.
you go
in
somewhere
sports.
from that serious, you just use the name Dye to your advantage.
Yeah,
Speaking of Dye,
that's what they should. That should be their segue.
which they almost would do. When I did that correspondence dinner with, they had just after the Peter Jennings memorial tape that he had just passed away, and it was like they did that. They did okay. Now let's have a moment of silence, and then Frank, the antics of Zany,
That's so unfair.
No, it's just brutal.
It's brutal. And in sports, it's kind of like that. You probably have a lot of people watching going, oh, who's so-and-so like for this game? And they're maybe making bets or fantasy or whatever the heck they do. And then they just go, and here's a comic. Like that's...
Yeah. It's really weird because now you're not only doing comedy, you're doing comedy for a sports audience who what a lot of time sports is so much what have you done for me lately. You could hit a home run last time up, you strike out at the end of the last game, people are booing.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's you got a joke that bombs, people are boo.
Yeah, that's their judgment level.
Yeah, so
on that
it's,
channel.
So it's that's the feeling you have going back and forth. You try and do comedy there, and the producers have that kind of feeling too. They're like, I don't know if you got it anymore. I just had 3 great weeks and then one stunk. I mean, what do you mean? We're looking at some other people to take. All right.
So frustrating.
That was the worst. That was because people in comedy can understand jokes don't always work.
Right.
And then you might edit around them and change them, and you can do that. In sports, it's just let's just put it out there, see what the reaction is. And if it's not good, everybody just reacts in a panic.
Yeah.
And they're just weird about it.
I've always stand-up comedy has always been like an art form that, just the room sees because it's live. So if you do have a bad joke or a bad set or whatever, just that room knows.
Right.
And anytime I've ever been on television, it's like highly edited. And even I'm in the edit bay going, that didn't hit, that didn't play. So no one will ever see it. And all the parts that I'm very funny make me look like a rock star, you know? Whereas like on that, it's like they just put you on a thing and then have you rip. And so like that's millions of people watching.
Yeah.
Sports is wildly popular. And then like if that like 3 minutes of like, oh, he did good in last week. Like, that's not fair. Like, you're like, yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's the like I said, it's 100%. What have you done for me lately? And last week doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
I thought for 9 years I was at Fox, I thought I was going to be fired every week.
Really? That's the horrible
it was
pressure.
just so tough.
Yeah.
You just never know. Like after the first few, I should have been fired probably. They didn't. They stayed with me, and then they got better, and then we found a formula. But it's hard. And I didn't even love all the way we were doing it. We turned it into more of a joke machine, and it worked. It worked for the Midwest and older people. But the reality is younger people, which is where I'm trying to go with most of what I'm doing, don't like jokes. They they like a little bit of twist, but they like truth to it. Sure. They would rather hear something like you're calling out common standards or something like that, sure. But it's not knock knock who's there kinds of old people. They want
something they can go tell.
Yeah, they hear the knock and in the joke, and they're like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." People hear the kids hear the knock, they're like, "Oh, this is getting cringy.
It's getting corny."
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is like I've noticed is like old people want a joke, like a street joke they can go tell someone at like after the show's over. Like, oh, he was funny. Here's one. And then young people, they're the criticism I would put on them or the group I'd put them in is they just want to see someone famous. That's the criticism I put. Like they go to the Improv to go, you know who I saw last night? I saw Chris D'Elia last night. I saw Gabriel Iglesias. Like that's the thing I noticed about young people is they don't even care if those people were funny.
Because
they just want
they're
a
not even
famous
watching.
person.
They're on the phone most of the time.
Which is what's crazy too is how that's the thing, like a little bit, oh, that's cringy or whatever. But at the same time, like Vine stars are now were a thing because of this population of people that made them famous. And that's some of the worst shit I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, that's like YouTubers, like when I hear someone's a YouTuber, I go, ugh. Like I just cringe at that idea.
Well, the first
We're
time
all YouTubers. Anybody can put shit up. My dad like shows how to put like tubes to like a pool, like clean pools. He gives a little tutorial of it. I guess my dad's a YouTuber. We're all YouTubers.
Yeah, I think there's levels. The people that are super successful in YouTube it's amazing that the heights and the people don't even know what kind of money
It's
they're
always like
making.
some jump cutty video where it's like, so today I went to a Hollywood party and then jump cuts like, party! And then the jump cuts to back to like them like, it's me and my 3 friends and this is like a real Hollywood party. Awkward. Anyway, it's like this weird spazzy 2-minute video of like a loser telling me about something I don't care about.
I remember,
and I'm like, kill yourself. I know you're 17, but kill yourself.
I remember somebody from YouTube talking to me about, this was unofficially too, it was a friend, and they were telling me, I was saying, I'm working on putting some stuff up on YouTube. They're like, how many cuts you got? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, it needs to be cuts, lots of cuts. I'm like, but why? They're like, that's what YouTubers, that's what people want. And it's that weird. Vine was the first time I ever realized that people trying to tell a story in 6 seconds, they got rid of all. What we do in stand-up comedy is we try to say things that are funny, and you try to say them in a funny way, right? But a lot of times, silence is the most important thing to your comedy. Like, what's the moment that you let breathe and then come back with the line or the reaction?
Yeah.
in those vines, it was just like push. You just knock it all out to the
Spazzy,
nothing.
yeah.
Nothing.
When also Bill Cosby, my favorite comedian a long time ago, and now my favorite rapist. He used to say
I didn't know you
silence.
had you do a number
Well, yeah, I
of those?
mean, if I had to pick a favorite rapist, like that guy had a bunch of records and it was really funny. Out of all the rapists, he was the funniest. Let's give him that.
Yeah, he's
He was
way
like a
up there.
serial rapist too, so like he was great at everything, pretty much. I think
Oh
that's what
my
we're
God.
getting at. No, but Bill Cosby used to say silence is the most important part, and sometimes he would just let that silence.
That had nothing to do with the comedy.
yeah. He was drugging the audience.
Brutal.
No, the like Bill Cosby would like leave a long pause, and the crowd would just have to deal with the silence. Would give them this kind of maybe a nervous energy, but it would make them start laughing,
Right.
Because it seemed like a thoughtful pause, or it seemed intentional, or it seemed whatever. And he could like he's like when you can make people laugh in that silence is like when it's very
Well,
very
it turns
strong.
out that wasn't comedic timing at all. That was him just plotting.
He was thinking after the show was
What I'm going to
with
do.
the pills and popping.
Terrible.
Wait, so which celebrity hates your impression the most, and which one loves your impression the most?
I probably don't want to say the person that hates it the most. Don't want to give that away. But there are certain people who just don't get it. I feel that's ridiculous. That is not cool.
You mean the guy that is baiting people and trolling people all the time on his show is
Ridiculous.
upset about a good impression of it?
No idea what you're talking about.
I hate that guy.
Jeff, die. Hey, dude, do your name. Die. I'm not talking about going and changing your color. Different kind of die. I'm wishing muerto on you.
Jim Rome had one thing that I really, really loved once. Well,
Really, I always liked him. It was
Really? I liked when he almost got beat up by
Chrissy.
yeah.
Chrissy Everett.
Chris Everett, yeah. And then I also liked when he was going hard on Scott Stapp for that horrible Marlins song. Do you remember that?
No.
So Scott Stapp got hired by the Marlins. The guy from Creed got hired to do the song for the Marlins. And it's one of the worst, best things you'll ever hear in your life. It's almost like Scott Stapp has never heard of baseball. And then they hired him to do a baseball song. It's like he literally just names baseball terms and then throws in like this really spiritual like hook that has nothing to do with baseball. So it's like, let's play ball, it's game day. And then there's like a crack of the bat that's like some clip art sound that sounds like Teddy Baseball just hitting it right on the screws. And then it just is like a triple play, a stolen base, a diving catch. He's just naming things. He also names two
Pennant race.
He's also named two things that had never happened in the history of Marlins baseball when he sang the song. He's like, he names a triple play, a perfect game, two things that have never happened in the Marlins when he wrote that song, because it was pretty early in the Marlins, like inception. He's just,
Did they happen afterward? Was
I
he a
think there's been a
soothsayer?
no-hitter since, and there's been a triple, there's definitely had a triple play. But this was like pretty early when the Marlins weren't even, he's like, it's just so bad. And then I just liked that Jim Rome wouldn't let him off the hook for it. Like Jim Rome for like weeks just kept playing that song and being like, have we talked? Have you guys heard this? This is a Scott. And he just kept going on it. And that made me very happy.
It's a great song. It has nothing to do with anything that it's supposed to be about.
I think he just kept calling it garbage.
Garbage.
Yes.
Take a listen to this. This is the trash compactor from Star Wars just about to happen.
That's amazing.
Look out, R2-D2. Maybe you should project a baseball player with instructions for Scott Stapp. Because dude just looked up some terms in the baseball encyclopedia. Get through it. What is going through your dome right now, Stapper?
It's so good.
Not a good idea.
So who loves their impression the most?
Barkley, I think Charles Barkley likes because of he's a Frank. You gotta keep doing me. I'm like,
What
is
a
it?
great guy.
Oh, he's the best. He's like, you gotta keep doing me. I'm like, why? Because every time you do it, I end up making more money. That's the real reason why. When people hear you do it, that just elevates me, Frank.
I love
I
that.
get new commercials, Weight Watchers, Taco Bell, not in that order. So he's done things. I was down at the NBA Finals a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I like people like a security guard was trying to keep me away. I'm like, Chuck. And he's like, please don't. And then Barkley's like, Frank, how you doing, man?
Oh, I love
and
that.
then just comes over. It's like, it's your son, man. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, that's
and
great.
Like 5 minutes.
He's always seemed like the coolest guy.
Because he's real.
Yeah.
He's not, I mean, listen, he goes and just hangs out. He goes places and just lives a pretty normal life as opposed to a lot of people that try and, have bodyguards everywhere.
Oh, yeah, he's not like that.
And Barkley used to be the kind of guy that people get in fights with, too.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
I like that he made fun of the Riverwalk and then just doubled down when they asked him to not make fun of the Riverwalk. They're like, that's like really horrible for tourism. And he's just like, what? It's terrible. Like, it's
It's really bad. It's ugly.
I love that.
There's a lot of ugly people. Ugly people in an ugly area have to be talked about or it's never going to get fixed. If you leave ugly people in an ugly area, you're going to end up with an island of misfits, like the island of misfit toys. You don't want to be that little jack-in-the-box thing. You don't want to have some kind of crazy winter warlock coming after you. That's all really bad stuff. I love Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when Herbie want to be an elf. Herbie want to be an elf. Come on, Herbie. Believe in yourself, knucklehead. Come on. You're an elf. You want to be a dentist? You don't want to work for Santa Claus? You're an elf. That's what everybody said. Herbie, you're an elf. You got to work for Santa Claus, and he wants to fix teeth. But he believed in himself, and eventually, orthodontia was in his future.
Orthodontia. One of my favorite things that Charles Barkley said is he was making fun of DeAndre Jordan and saying how bad he is. And it's like DeAndre Jordan at the time was like our only Clipper that was like doing well. And he's like, if you locked him in a gym with a bunch of basketballs and you didn't let him out for 24 hours, he would have 0 points if you don't count dunks. I just thought, what a weird. How would you think of that? Like,
and Shaq's there going, I resemble that remark.
Absolutely.
Exactly how I live my life.
You've met Shaq?
I did his podcast years ago. I've actually never met him.
Shaq has a podcast?
Yeah.
What does it came to? Shaq has a podcast. I did Dr. J's podcast.
Oh, really?
That was weird.
Yeah.
Because he knows nothing about me. And so he's just going, so you have a TV show? And I was like, yeah. Like that wasn't even a question. Okay, yeah, I started explaining the show. He's never seen the show.
Right.
They told him I had a show, and then it was like, but he was very sweet and very nice. And then he's like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Seattle." He's like, "Oh, Bill Russell's from Seattle." And I was like, "Really?" And then he starts telling me about Bill Russell. It was just weird. It was like
how he could relate to you had nothing to do with anything.
We had nothing. We just had nothing. But he's a great guy, super sweet. I liked him.
Did he talk about his work in The Fish That Saved Pittsburgh?
No.
You got to look up that movie.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's about a team of ragtag
and he's in
players.
It.
Yeah, it's Major League with basketball in the 70s.
Is it good?
Oh, yeah. They have Meadowlark Lemon is in it.
Oh, nice.
It's the fish that saved Pittsburgh.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, because the reason it's called that is because they're the Pittsburgh Pisces.
Oh,
and
God.
that's their team. They got Set Shot Buford, the white guy who only shoots two-handed set shots from the outside.
Is it before or after Major League?
Oh, it's way before.
Oh, wow. So maybe they stole the kind of idea, the concept.
But before I leave your place today, we're Googling it, and you're just going to be like, oh, my God, this is the best.
Those are my favorite things, that when they're bad, they're so bad that they're good. That's what I love.
Then this is phenomenal.
Yeah, unless they're in on the joke. Like, I don't like a Sharknado or something like that, where they're like, it's so bad, it's like you intentionally went bad.
Right.
You made it bad. They need to be making a well-intentioned thing that they thought this is going to be great, and it's garbage.
This is a feel-good comeback story of the ages. In the 70s, complete with soundtrack that you're just going, when are people getting naked? Because that's the music that's playing.
Do you remember when celebrities would do raps? And I know we've talked about this, but do you remember when celebrities would do raps in the 80s? And like, they'd be like, wouldn't it be great if we got all the Bears to do a rap? But they don't know how to rap, so every rhythm of the rap would be like, My name's Jeff Dye and I'm a quarterback. Like it was like always
And those are the
same
actual lyrics because they
awful-
couldn't rhyme either.
Yeah, it was so bad.
I'm the punky QB known as McMahon. When I hit the turf, I got no plan. Just throw my body all
It's
over
so
the field.
bad.
I
I
can't
hate
dance, but I can throw the peel. I motivate the cats I aim to please.
You're doing it better than them.
You're looking
But
at
was
the
that was
fridge.
the exact
I
like
remember you're looking at the fridge, and I'm the rookie. I may be large, but I'm no dumb cookie. You see me hit. You see me run.
I hated it. And they would do it on everything.
Well, they call me sweetness, and I like to dance. Running the ball is like making romance.
So bad. And their dance moves were all the same.
Yeah.
It's just like in this weird. Oh, it triggers me so much when I see. I just go kill these guys.
Jim McMahon and Walter Payton not even there in the Super Bowl
Oh,
shuffle.
really?
Look at it. There are white outlines around them.
That's-
Second thing we're Googling and watching after.
That is great. This story won't be as entertaining now that Twitter exists. I met Jim McMahon. And I was like, what do I say to him? Like, he looks like very tough, unapproachable guy.
Right.
He always wears
But
sunglasses.
went to BYU.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, but I thought he was cool, and I was like, oh, I want to talk to him. And there's all these other athletes here and other people that I know, but like I don't know him, and I'd like to know. So where we're at the dinner table, I'm sitting kind of across from him, and people start getting up and leaving because we've been at that dinner for hours, and so it's just me and him. And I go, hey man, I'm Jeff. Like I'm a comedian, and he goes, oh, nice to meet you, man. I was like, I'm a fan of your stuff, and blah blah blah. And he goes, I go, so what have you been doing since football? And he goes, puzzles. And I was like, this is the guy I was afraid to approach, like whatever his hobby is, puzzles. And he starts showing me through his phone pictures of the puzzles he does, and they're like flowers and like really old, like stuff you would think a grandma would like be interested in making. One of them was just like purple, like mostly like purple shapes and things. And it turns out it helps him with his like PT. Or what's it called? CT. And it helps him with a lot. But whenever I tell people that story, they're like, bullshit. And I was like, no, I promise. But now with Twitter, like he'll post the photos of the puzzles and stuff
He's
like that.
now Jim
so people
McOld-
believe me now.
Jim McOldwoman.
yeah, that's what. It was very strange, but it was also kind of endearing. I was like, oh, this guy's like a sweetheart. Golfed with him the next day.
Yeah,
and like,
I think a lot of people remember. I mean, we get lost in this too, and you're savvy. I don't know about
Uncle
Tony.
Jesse.
Uncle Tony, Jesse, Mr. French. I don't. You get lost in times. Like you meet somebody and you think they're going to be their TV persona.
Absolutely.
And you think, when I met Dave Coulier from your sitcom,
Yeah.
I was
Great
waiting
guy.
for this corny
Great memories.
Uncle Joey type of character.
Right.
And he's kind of an edgy, pretty smart.
Loves hockey.
thinker,
That's what he wants to talk. Yeah.
really good, like actually really good impressions, not doing that. Anybody got any wood?
Oh, God.
Not doing it. Like I go, and I was, when I met him, I'm like, I'm confused. Like this shouldn't be happening to me because I've been behind the scenes and know that people aren't their characters. And he was nice about it, but I was almost to the point where I felt like, oh, I could be making him mad right now because I'm just saying all these stupid things because I'm talking out loud and I should be holding a lot of it in. But that happened recently with I had him on a podcast. I'm trying to think of his name. Ronnie Chang.
Oh, okay.
Who's he's a correspondent on the Daily Show, and he was also in the Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
And he always plays like a real dick. He's always like, "I'm talking to you." Like he's just yelling at everybody. And in person, he was the sweetest, nicest guy in the world. And it blew my mind for a little bit. It's not like when I met John Voight. I met John Voight. He just was John Voight.
Right.
He was on a different planet. I was invited for a little bit.
So some people are like that.
There are
some
times,
people
and that's what screws up your brain,
Right.
Because you start to, oh no, these people are the way
Gary
they are.
Busey is the guy from Black Sheep.
Right? Yeah, right.
He's like crazy, like lives in a trailer. There's like his nom over.
I didn't run into this. It's much less of a story than that. So there was a plane. I was on Phoenix going to LA. It might have been Burbank. I'm not sure which it is. But I'm flying into there, and there's this guy in the airport, and everybody's like, dude thinks he's Aquaman. Look at Aquaman. Turns around, it's Jason Momoa.
That's amazing.
So you're just looking, and nobody's bothering him.
Yeah.
Because he's Jason Momoa. He
Right. He'll
looks
have
like
a shark attack him or something if they bother him.
not only that, you're thinking so much to Game of Thrones too.
Oh, yeah.
Khal Drogo, and you're just his kids are with him.
Yeah.
They look exactly the same as him. Little goatees, tridents,
Abs.
So I don't know. Fun looking. That's too young. So, but he looked at me a couple times like, just gave me this look. Like, I think he knew maybe who I was, or maybe he thought I was his gym coach or something like that.
it.
But he's like, he gave me this look like 3 or 4 times. And I've seen that look before, been at the airport with my wife, and she'll be like, why are they staring at me? I'm like, they're looking at me. They know me from TV.
Absolutely.
You married a star. And
when are you going to realize
no
that?
matter what you believe, I've done decently, honey. So...
Who pays for this beautiful home and the 7 tortoises?
Yeah.
Me, honey.
Yeah, no, I've tried that argument.
It never works.
Goes nowhere. She starts calling friends and relatives.
Oh no,
lawyers.
He's lost it.
So Momoa, he's looking at me a few times. He just keeps looking at me, and I'm thinking maybe he knows me. Maybe I'm going to approach him.
Yeah.
And I decide not to because I'm just a little too scared. But we get on the plane. We're on the plane. People are just taking pictures of him as we're just on the plane.
Yeah.
First class. We're both high level.
Yeah, both successful.
So everybody's taking pictures. And I think he gets up in mid-flight to go to the bathroom. He's stretching. It looked like something from Instagram. Like it didn't look real.
Yeah.
Like Aquaman stretching. And I thought too, that if this plane were to go down, it's not that useful from Phoenix to Burbank, but I'd love to travel overseas with him because if the plane does go down, he could just summon a whale in the water of the blowhole would keep us up.
Yeah.
So you'll think it's telepathic
Wait, he's
powers.
stretching on a 45-minute flight?
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's got his kids. So he's
to Phoenix.
I try to sneak a picture. I think my first picture, I don't quite get him all the way in the frame, so I take the second. He sees me do it.
Oh no!
He's like, "Hey, none of that shit."
Was he mad?
I think he thought I was paparazzi. I thought he could place me, but he couldn't. And I never got so embarrassed and sad in my life because I was like, people have taken lots of pictures, nowhere near as many pictures as him, but I was like, this is as pathetic as I thought it was, which is why I was trying to hide it.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that guy. All those people taking pictures, I'm like, that's just, the story gets worse. All these people taking pictures. So he goes to the bathroom, comes back, and I go, listen, dude, I'm really sorry. And that's when we had a great conversation.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He was like, yeah. And then he moved on. That was our conversation. But hold on. So that's not where it was the worst. Because the flight attendant comes over to me.
No.
Super embarrassing. Goes, you're going to erase that picture, right? And I just completely lied to her. And I said, 100% yes, ma'am. That was so wrong of me.
Really?
To invade the man's privacy who everybody else had invaded already.
Oh, that's good though. I like that you said that.
So I apologize for that, and I'm getting rid of it right now.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, yep. Out, delete. Like it's just completely
I still have the picture of him doing this, reaching out to me in a
that's
slight
great.
blur, like never.
Oh, I want to see that.
Yeah, I'm
photo.
going to show it to you.
Yeah, that's great. I had a sort of thing like that where Wesley Snipes was at the airport, and I was like, dude, I want to post that like Wesley Snipes is on the same like Southwest airline that I'm doing from like LAX to New York. Like I thought like Wesley Snipes would be like private plane guy, you know?
Yeah, you know about his taxes.
I guess something. I don't know. But I was like, how is it? So I was like, maybe it's not Wesley Snipes. Maybe it's just a guy who looks like Wesley Snipes. And then I'm going to tweet like Wesley Snipes is on a Southwest flight from, that could be a bad look. And then everyone's like, oh, you're racist. Do you think all black people look like?
Right.
And so I just didn't mess with it. I was like, it's early. And also like, what's that gonna do? And like might annoy Wesley Snipes if it is what I don't know. So I just didn't mess with that. I was like, probably not even him. And then all these people started coming up to him, and he was like, "Yeah, you come up." And it was really Wesley Snipes on the same. And I was like, "Damn it, I could have posted that thing." I don't know. I missed out. Missed an opportunity.
Yeah, but I mean, what's that? I mean, at the same time,
I'd rather have met him though.
Yeah, it's cooler. I think it's just more the moments that you get to meet the person, and then you just want to have some proof for the story.
Yeah,
I think people are worried that when they're that famous that you're going to tweet it all out.
Right, which I would.
Yeah, I try not to.
Tim Lincecum once was at a bar. Have I told this story?
To me, but I don't know if you've said.
So I was at a bar. I was throwing out the first pitch for the Mariners, which I was excited to do. It was my first pitch I've ever thrown out, and also like my home team, and I was very excited. And so I throw out the first pitch, get way too much drinks in me with my friends, and then we go to this bar called Pesos. So it's hours after a game that I was already drunk at, and we're drinking more. And then the players start filing in for the Giants, and Tim Lincecum's there. And I'm like, dude, Tim Lincecum's from Seattle. He was like this cool baseball player. He's like, at the time, was like a Cy Young award-winning pitcher for the Giants. And so I go up to him and go, hey, man, I threw out the first pitch for the Mariners today. I'm like a huge fan. And we always wish that you would come to the Mariners, but I guess you're a Giant now. And they've kind of really own you, like, as far as like you're famous there. And so why would you ever leave kind of thing? And I was like, do you mind if I get a photo with you? He's like, well, I pitch tomorrow and we're all drinking and we're at a bar. So yes, you can have a photo with me, but just don't post it. I was like, yeah, no problem. Take the photo. Immediately I posted because I'm just like so excited to brag that I met Tim Lincecum. And then the next day they pulled him. They didn't let him pitch. And I don't know if it was because of the photo, but they didn't say why he wasn't pitching. I just was like watching the Mariners game going, I thought Tim Lincecum pitched today. So I might have had, like, Tim Lincecum might hate me.
You might have changed the battery.
I might have changed the whole rules of them going out at night. Or
I wonder if the Mariners won that day. They should thank you.
They should thank
for not having to face
the
Tim
freak.
Jim.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You're going to be invited to go hang out with opposing teams' pitchers.
Yeah, like try to get them drunk. Like,
Well, we're facing
Like the
their
big-
number 6 today. Why is that? Jeff Dye.
all right, so I got two things and a question. One was, do you think cartoon impressions count? Like, so I have a friend who's very, very good at impressions. And he'd be like, here's 100 impressions in a...
Who's the friend?
I don't want to say.
Yeah.
In case he thinks I'm... But like my friend JD Witherspoon is very good at impressions. My friend Justin Ruppel is very good at impressions. But sometimes they'll do these things like, here's 50 impressions in such a short amount of time. And they start doing like Peter Griffin and like Stewie. It's like, well, I don't think cartoons count.
First of all, could you have more fake name friends than what you just
Those were
named?
real names.
What are their names?
Justin Ruppel.
Yeah.
JD Witherspoon.
Yes. That's 80s sitcom names.
Yeah. Well, one of them's dad was in 80s sitcoms.
Yeah.
Okay.
John Witherspoon.
Oh,
his
okay.
son is JD Witherspoon, who's a
Oh,
really
okay.
great
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
And then
I
the other
didn't-
guy, Justin Ruppel, might be a stage name, but I've always known him as Justin Ruppel.
I count them as voices, not so much impressions.
Okay.
I also don't count movie characters or television or sketch characters as being impressions. If somebody's putting on a voice or a character,
Yeah.
it's way easier to figure that out. When everybody used to do these crazy Robin Williams bits,
Right.
and I would do the serious one, the one where you grow a beard and win Academy Award. You're not just the crazy pitcher on a team, or the man running a computer that doesn't always work.
That's good.
You're trying to teach children.
Doing like beautiful Robin
Help
Williams.
them learn.
They're all doing Mork.
But yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's
That's
6
good.
voices right there. They count it.
Right.
So, in terms of cartoons, I've noticed this a lot. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, almost all people who do lots of impressions and the 50 impressions in 1 minute or whatever, they all do Family Guy voices.
Right. And they plow through like 10. 10 of them are a Family Guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, that doesn't. I can't do it, so I shouldn't say anything.
I think
that
it's
bad.
but
like I'm not impressed when I hear like a Peter Griffin. Like when you're doing John Gruden, I'm like, oh, like from my brain goes, that's a crazy thing.
if they took on the physicalities of the cartoon character and walked, I don't know, maybe they just held their arms a certain way,
Yeah.
did something with their face to be Peter Griffin, just to do something. I never even spent time on cartoon characters for me, it was more like, it's like singing impressions. What are you going to do? Rhyme?
Right.
That's the way I always looked at it. Like it didn't ever have to have a take. It was just rhyming in the song. Now,
A lot of girl impersonators, that's their whole shtick. Is like, here's me doing Britney Spears, and here's me doing Christina Aguilera, and here's me doing, and you're like, oh wow.
well, there is
La 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 Gaga. I'm Christina Aguilera. You're like, wow. You sing good for all these.
Dude,
and
you
it's
fucking
just,
nailed that, by the way.
that's how they do it. Itchy gitchy, yeah. Like, ooh, she sounds just like it.
Itchy gitchy ABIA. I actually do football Gruden style.
Yeah. Oh man, I'd love to see you do one of those horrible '80s raps where like, you recreate that.
Yeah.
So it's just a bunch of Franks doing all the like, my name is Fridge and I'm the rookie or whatever.
My name's John Gruden, but they call me Chucky. If I'm your coach, you're gonna be lucky because I'm gonna run the plays that make you all better.
That'd be so amazing. But then do it
Why
like
don't football games have double headers? Oh, come on, man.
they should do it like
Jive with
in
me.
a gritty like 80s kind of film of filter. And then what did Gruden used to coach for? Like what was the first team? Was he
Tampa
like
Bay.
Oh yeah, making
Oh no,
this
it was
Tampa.
before with Oakland. Before that, it was Oakland, then Tampa.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well, didn't he used to coach under Holmgren?
yeah. He was in the Holmgren tree
Okay.
in Green Bay.
Because that'd probably be the same time or a little bit after, right? I don't know.
I got it. Hold on. My name's John Gruden, but they call me Chucky. I'll tell you right now, knock on. Nope, that wasn't it. I was trying to
Maybe
get
get a running start.
I was trying to get something with knock on wood if you're with me. I was trying to get to that. I had it mapped out in my head.
Got to do that,
But
dude.
I used Waze.
It would be so amazing.
Led you astray.
All right. Sorry. I know we're taking your time. You got to be somewhere.
No, I'm actually late. No, it's good.
Hey, you made me late for lunch. I'm making you on time.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you on time. So we were talking about these other things, like Charles Barkley loves golf. You know, this has been my new kind of thing, is like finding what people are really. Went to your house. You're incredible at ping pong, or as
Incredible
you call
to
it,
you.
table tennis.
I only do that because I like to teach people that Q-tips are actually cotton swabs. But
Kleenex is tissue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola is soda.
Yeah.
We could do this all day.
Yeah.
But ping pong is a brand name.
Yeah. But nobody really cares. People,
I think it's
people who
interesting.
play ping pong just want you to know that it exists and it's in the Olympics and stuff. They don't care if you call it table tennis. Like the paddle.
Yeah.
Like we would probably call it a paddle. Some people call it a bat.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird. But
I
how'd
call it a weapon.
Why are you so good at ping pong? And also how and when did what's
When
that?
I moved to Vegas, I didn't move there. I was living in Vegas because I was working in Vegas. I was flying back and forth a lot to Phoenix. I needed something to do during the day in Vegas.
in the
'cause
private jet. You're killing some time.
Well, no,
Set
I
up
would
the ping
take a
pong
charter
table.
the plane, but it would stay there. I wouldn't venture out during the week to other
Yeah.
lands. So I found this ping pong club, and my dad had played at a table tennis club when he was, when we were kids at
Yeah.
WCTC in Waukesha, right down the street from JJ Watt's house. I think.
When he wasn't playing softball, he'd be
Yeah.
playing
two
ping
for three.
pong.
2 for 3, Jeff. 2 for 3. He gives me his stats every time I see him. How you doing, Dad? 2 for 3 today. Turn a couple double plays.
Love softball.
Unbelievable.
He's so fun.
He's also the only person. He goes to my shows and wears a shirt with a picture of me on it.
Oh, that's
Everybody
sweet.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, you like it if you thought it was about me. It's about him.
Oh, he's like,
It's about.
hey, I did this.
I made this happen.
This is that's funny.
My mom would be like, I was there too. He goes, I don't remember. So I would just play there all day. I was so fat. It's so funny to go back and look and see how fat I was when I started playing. Because I remember this guy, Jones Baldonado is his name, and
Talk about a fake name sounding.
yeah, but he was he's like, I'm trying to do these strokes. He's like, maybe you're too big.
Wow.
Like he was just totally honest with me too.
That would break my heart.
But I got small. He goes,
Yeah.
last time I saw him, he said, you are much smaller. Like he's my Mr. Miyagi.
Absolutely.
But I remember him saying there are two types of spin. There's the top spin and then there is the underspin. Top spin can go top spin or side spin. And then the underspin, you would attack with underspin. And so he just would always tell me that. He goes, but you do not move well.
He's like leaning at your footwork and stuff.
It's all footwork.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. If you watch how different people play, you'd learn a lot because actually it's not the game that everybody thinks that just standing in one place. If you watch it for real, they're moving their feet. You can burn a lot of calories.
Wow.
And you play people who play tennis, they think they can play ping pong. And then you play them and like, no, you're doing tennis strokes.
Right.
I'll crush you.
Yeah,
But then
he
they-
crushed me. I was because I think I'm better than all the average people at ping pong. But anybody that plays ping pong, I'm like, yeah, I'm not good.
Well, here's the other thing. Like I see these viral videos of these kids that are good every once in a while, and they just smash, smooth, just smash, smash, smash. Have you seen that one?
Yeah,
like that?
it seems like they're just trying to go back and forth, though.
Yeah, right. And somebody will send it to me, and I'll be like, "Oh, this person would kill you." I'm like, "Maybe," but you know what I'd do? Drop it short over the net.
Yeah.
Because they can't hit it.
But it's way more impressive of a YouTube video if they're just returning
Yeah,
back
and,
for and that's
they're
what
incredible
basically
strokes,
trying to
and the
do,
footwork's great.
Yeah.
But in a game situation, I've been beaten by like 10-year-old Chinese girls.
Really?
Oh, destroyed.
Really?
I'm not just about the game. I'm talking about my ego. Like
Horrible
just
for America.
everything. Listen, we're going to stop this. There's no
I don't even want you to admit that. That was fake news. What
fake
you just
news.
did.
What just happened?
A
Frank has
Chinese
never.
girl beat you?
It's you just.
They're endangered, I heard. All right, last question. Frank Caliendo, big fan of you. Thank you for being here.
I'm a huge fan of you as well.
What happens when we die?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say with Kellen here, but he's. I don't know. I'm just gonna wait and see.
Yeah?
Do you have a theory on this that you do every
No,
podcast?
I don't. I just like asking that question and seeing the answers. We've gotten such a range.
Yeah.
And also, like, whenever they ask me what I do, I was like, I have never came to a good answer.
I have a lot of hope
Yeah.
that you can see something that you know what's going on, but I don't know. I don't know. The funny thing, other than I know certain people in my life that I'm friends with that are very religious. I'm actually very envious of that because I don't know what I am or where
Right.
I come from on all this stuff. And for people to have that much faith, I find that amazing. But I do find the worst of that is when something goes wrong and then people start praying. Like they're not religious at all till it's needed.
Right,
That type of thing.
right.
And I almost don't want to be that type of person in my life. So I don't know. But what happens when we die? Yeah, I'll go play ping pong, man.
Yeah,
There you
dude.
Tell you what, man. We
Ping
go,
pong in the
you
sky.
die, you play for the Raiders. That's what you do, man.
That'd be amazing.
Remember what we said about
Can I play
Hollywood?
for a better team?
We won last night, man.
Yeah, you did.
Big deal.
I love you so much. Thanks for being on here, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you.
Friendship.